What's up, witches?
What's up?
How's it going?
Hope you guys have been doing well.
So today is October 18th, the day before my birthday. And we have
You just stole some of my thunder. I was gonna say happy birthday on the recording, and of course I didn't say anything because I wanted it to be like a. That's okay.
Do you want
Happy
to
birthday, my love. No, because it still wouldn't be. Do you want to start over? So what she's saying, ladies and gentlemen and witches of all ages, you would just pretend like we would do a skit.
Okay.
We want to be like some of those others
No.
that do skits. Okay, good.
Well, no.
Although some of them are funny, and they're well thought out and planned. Excuse me. I got into puberty again for a second. Anyway, what's up? Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Now, rule that I have is from the day of your birthday, at whatever point in the month that it is, your birthday ends when the month ends. So if you were born on the 1st, have fun, but be careful. Be safe. Middle of the month, you still got... So you've got the whole, 10 days left? 11 days?
Something like that.
Left to celebrate? 12 days.
Yeah.
Actually. Sorry, the math part of my brain wasn't working. So I hope you guys have been doing well. Tonight we're going to be doing, or talking about, not doing, but talking about love spells, per a request that we had from
Natalie Clayschult from the Plantology podcast.
And cord cutting.
Yes.
So love spells and cord cutting. Would you like to begin?
Okay. Well, which one do we want to start with? Should we go ahead and start with the... I'm really, even though what we've had maybe 5 viewers, I know it's been a little bit more than that, but I'm feeling the energy, especially from her, because she specifically asked for it. I'm feeling like just start with the love spells. Okay. Well, before we actually get down to the nitty-gritty of love spells, I'm going to start with a couple caveats. There are some ways that love spells can go wrong.
Oh, completely and utterly.
Yes. So one of them is that it just doesn't work at all. It can either fizzle out or it's not what you're supposed to be doing at that time. And one of the ways that I make sure that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing is that before I cast a spell, I will actually do a divination either with my tarot cards or my pendulum to ask, am I supposed to be doing this right now? And I will usually ask the question like 3 different ways, like reword it, but ask the same question 3 different ways. Because here's the thing. If the answer comes up the same way all 3 times, then I know that, okay, that's my answer. Like if I'm told no all 3 times, then I know, okay, it's a no. Like, if I get the same answer 2 of the 3, then it's still a no. Or like if I'm told no, it's still a no. Mm-hmm. But if I'm only told no once, then I'll ask like, okay, so what about this wording? Like, is there something specific I need to focus on here to make it a yes? Or
Gotcha.
to make it a more solid yes.
Okay.
And then try and figure out like what it is that I'm supposed to be doing to get what I want. But every single time I've done the divinations beforehand, when I ask the 3 questions that are just worded slightly different, but they're the same question, every single time the answer has always been the same all 3 times.
Right.
So it's not like there's any wiggle room for me. It's just, no, bitch, don't do it. Or yeah, go ahead. Like this is what you're supposed to be doing.
Right.
So there's, it just doesn't work. And that could be because you don't have enough power behind it, like you haven't raised enough energy. It could be because it's just not supposed to be what you're doing. It could be your correspondences are completely off, which a lot of times I've seen people say, as long as the intention is there, like it'll work, which is not necessarily true.
Right.
We have correspondences for a reason. You know, plants have certain energies, crystals have certain energies, and if you try to work against those, you're pretty much putting obstacles in your path. So if you're using the right correspondences and you're raising enough energy and your intention is clear and concise, then your spell is most likely going to work, as long as, and this is caveat number 2, most love spells out there target a specific individual, which goes against free will. Now, it could be that their will is so strong that your spell is just not enough to bend them. But there is also the possibility that they are protected. There's also the possibility that if your spell did come to fruition, you could end up seeing a side of that person that you didn't know existed. It could lead to things like abusive relationships, obsessive relationships, stalking,
abuse.
Yep.
And all the crazy shit you see in the movies.
Yeah.
You just like it can lead to all that.
Yes, definitely. Another thing is that, let's say your spell does work. And you did target a specific individual, they did fall in love with you, and everything's great. But then you're always going to have that little seed of doubt in your head that, what if they only like me because of the spell? Like, do you really want to go through a relationship with that thought in your head? So
then ending it would also be more difficult. It would take a lot more than just a cord cutting.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Which leads to
the other topic.
Another thing another caveat is that your spell could end up not working at all. Like, they don't fall in love with you. They don't even like you, but somehow you create a cord that ties you to them, which can only be diminished by doing a cord cutting.
Right.
And if you don't realize that you created a cord between you and this person, you can end up going through many incarnations where you guys come into each other's lives but never end up together, but you're always tied to each other because of that cord you created by casting an ill-advised spell.
And love spells have been around for millennia.
Right.
I mean, the ancient Greece did them. Or ancient Greeks, in medieval times. I mean, I'm sure there probably were even in Sumerian times. They were doing magic back then. They had shit happening, stuff going on. So the love spells have been around a long time. During those time periods, they pretty much were like bending the person's will.
Right.
But you can also, there are multiple forms of love spells. I mean, quite frankly, it's not just targeting an individual and making them love you just because they smiled at you once in the elevator, or even somebody that's been your friend for 20 years and you want more. You're not targeting one you're focusing with these other spells, you're focusing on yourself. Right. Like the reality or the concept or saying that you can't love somebody else until you love yourself, I don't know that I completely agree with it, because that person that you love could help you learn to love yourself. but there is some basis, there is some fact to that. So you could do a spell for, treating yourself better, to attract love and joy to your life. And that love could be in many forms. I mean, if you're just doing a broad statement like that, it could come in many forms. It could be somebody that your best friend from high school. 30 years later, they like find you, and like this was literally your road dog, your best friend. That love couldn't be replaced by anything. Or a sibling that for whatever reason you guys split apart. It could mend those relationships.
Right.
Or any number of friendships, and so on and so forth. So there are love spells that can help you to be the person that you're looking for.
Right.
So then you can find the person that you need or want.
Right. So there's the spells where you target another person. There's spells where you just put it out there that you are wanting love, that you're inviting love into your life and not necessarily targeting a specific person. There's self-love spells. One thing you have to really be careful about, though, is that with the inviting love, you have to specify human love, because if you don't, you could end up with a new pet.
Or a story like Catherine the Great. Wasn't it Catherine the Great? The Russian... Never mind. It's dark. She apparently died with a horse on her. Yeah. One of the Catherines. It may not... So I hope I don't piss somebody off by saying Catherine. But there was a Catherine that...
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you don't want that either.
You don't want that either. I know that just got really dark. That's okay.
Okay. So anyway, some of the typical ingredients that you would find in a love spell, whether it's a self-love spell or to invite love or sometimes even to target a specific person.
You can tell we're not really for that.
Yeah, no. I don't like working against free will or targeting people simply because, okay, full disclosure, I have actually done a love spell where I targeted a specific person. Not only did I not get what I wanted, but they ended up hating me. Like, he ended up hating me. So, probably just best not to do those. Work on yourself, be a better person. Be the person that you would want to be in love with.
But it doesn't mean you can't use magic to bring loving relationships into your life or make your current ones more loving.
True. There are things like sweet jars, I think is what they're called, to like help build your relationship and make it more loving.
Right.
There are things like harmony powder that you sprinkle around the house so that everybody gets along better.
Right. I use that
at your mom's.
Yeah, at my mom's.
But typical love spell ingredients are going to be things like either red or pink candles, rose petals, rose quartz, sugar.
Rose quartz also between the, not to again go to the sexual aspect of it, but if you put rose quartz in between your mattress and your box spring, it's supposed to help bring that energy to you. Just throwing it out there. I mean, this is part of love magic.
Should I be checking the mattresses for rose quartz?
We don't need it. I've never... But I had one at each corner, like, the whole concept of north, south, east, west, even though it was not, lined up that way. But, I had a piece of rose quartz. I also did, because I was a freak about bringing just the harmony of love. Mm-hmm. Like, I used to do pool parties, like once a month at my apartment. And then it started to turn into, there was this SingStar, I think it is. It's a game for the PS4. It's basically karaoke, but you're competing against the actual video of the artist doing the song. So it adds a whole different level and some nostalgia. So it turned into that, and then a weekend long Star Wars fest. I mean, it just so. But my point is like I wanted to bring that kind of energy to my home. So I made up little baggies. Old behavior, I know, but I made up little baggies, and each one was a piece of citrine and a piece of rose quartz. I made up like 20 of them, and I put one baggie in every corner of the house or the apartment, every single corner, and it just changed the feeling of the whole place. So anyway, we're getting off subject. Sorry, but that happens with me. You know that already.
Yes.
Anyway, so no, we're not actually going to do a love spell tonight. If I'm going to speak for me.
Okay.
As long as you don't want one that's specifically to affect purposely and directly an individual, you send that out to us, we can whip something together. But to be honest, besides the research that we've done and the notes that we've taken, those notes are from research that we've done or books that we've read, most of which are Google. You can find them on Google. You can find passages, recipes, spells, the whole process, a full-on ritual, because there's, cleansing of your space, the space that you're doing it in, cleansing of your body and mind. If you're doing a love spell, like you said, pink or red candles, but you need to charge them too. You could just pull out a candle and use it like that, but if you really want to use what's the word I'm looking for? Not just power, but the energy around you that's created by everything around you, then you need to get yourself and that object into that space. And excuse me, getting yourself there first, so then you can send that energy into, let's say, the candle, like your intent, like you talked about. I mean, it's not the only thing, but if you don't have like a powerful intent, nothing's gonna freaking happen. Right. Like if you say, I want to make $5 more an hour, and I want a new job, but A, you don't do anything about it, and B, you're not more specific, like
what do you want to be doing?
Yeah, what do you want to be doing? Or is there a specific company you want to work for? Right. Like you don't break it down to, like, I did once upon a time I did do a love spell, but it was not to bring a specific person to me, but a specific type of person. And no, it wasn't the 6 foot blonde or 5'5" or 5'4" blonde or brunette or redhead, shaped like this or no. It was personality and character traits, and a couple other things that I will just leave out of this podcast because they're kind of personal. But I wasn't talking about a specific person, just a particular type of person. And I basically, I didn't do a ritual or anything like that, other than I would focus on during meditation or like right before I go to bed, just think about that. So that's the last thing I'm thinking about before I fall asleep. That's what I'm putting energy into. And then, I don't know, it was maybe a year or two later, I met you. Now that was the second time that I did it. I also did it once. I did that spell, probably when I was in my 40s, but I wasn't really ready for anything, so nothing happened. Again, going back to you of you yourself being ready to receive and give love.
Right.
So anyway, again, I got off track.
That's okay. One of the other things I did want to mention is that your intention does have to be very clear and very concise. You cannot be wishy-washy about it. I've had many people ask me for spells that would make somebody think about them and only them.
Oh my God, why do you want an obsessive compulsive freaking stalker?
But not necessarily have that person in their life. You cannot have it both ways.
Yeah, I remember that.
You can't. Okay? You can't. Because if you're wanting them to think about you and only you, they are going to find a way to be in your life, whether you want them to be or not. And it leads to obsessive behavior on the target's part. It could lead to them stalking you, potentially harming you. So you have to be very, very clear about what your intention is. If you don't know what your intention is, don't do the spell. If you're going to be wishy-washy about it like that, just don't do the spell. Okay? It's for your safety that I'm saying that. Because I have actually seen people do those spells and then end up getting hurt. And I don't want that for you guys. You know, yes, I want to be putting love out into the world, but I want the love to be consensual, I guess.
I would hope so.
You know. So yeah, just wanted to put that out there. Other ingredients that you might see in love spells would be things like bay leaves, orange peels, pink Himalayan sea salt. We already said rose petals, rose quartz. Oh, and basil and clear quartz. I've seen those used in quite a few love spells too. So.
Okay.
Do you want to talk us through cord cuttings?
Sure. So, hey, you did a love spell and didn't exactly go the way you wanted it to. Not only could you have created, like she had mentioned, created the cord with the person, but let's say you didn't do a love spell, you actually had a relationship with somebody that was not manipulated, with magic, anyway.
But it just didn't go well.
Right. 1, 2, 15 years later, whatever, and you just can't seem to shake the individual, whether it be randomly running into them in public, or just they pop into your head constantly. Both things that make you laugh and things that drive you nuts. And you just need to move on. There are ways to cut those ties. I mean, there's multiple methods of doing this. Honestly, we could do an entire show just on the various cord cutting, especially if we actually went through with one.
Right.
I've mentioned authors before, like Scott Cunningham, just about any. I think there's even one in Bucky's Big Blue Book. I mean, I think his is more ceremonial,
right?
It's more. It could be considered a banishing spell too. But anyway, so like I said, there are many different ways of doing a cord cutting. The most common, I think, are two. First being using candles.
Mm-hmm.
Again, they recommend black, and not because anything's dark or anything, but black is a very powerful color because it contains all the colors, and it's good for a lot of things. So anyway, two black candles and a string. Pretty simple, right? And I'll explain more on that one in a moment. But then there's also actually like binding yourself. You have to write out your own, what you're going to say, and how you're going to say it, because I don't know the specifics on your situation. It doesn't have to rhyme. I know we've talked about that already, but
right.
Hell, if you can make it rhyme, but it doesn't have to, especially not all the way through. But anyway, I know some people get hung up on the rhyming. That's why I'm getting a little hung up on it, because even I did to a certain degree at first. Recite what you've previously prepared, however many times you feel you need to, whether you just do it once and with a knife or scissors, but make sure whatever you use cuts through quickly and evenly. Well, even doesn't really fucking matter, but cuts through quickly. All right, you don't want to have a situation where you're kind of
Sawing.
going like this with the knife, trying to cut it, or scissors, like, that back and forth, like it's also a saw, because you can't get cut all the way through. You want it to be quick, because that would imply, if it's difficult, that would imply that the cords that bind are stronger than you currently are, the magic you're currently doing. So you want your tools to be prepared, be sharp. You want your knife to be sharp. And do that, and depending on how much energy you put into it, and preparation, you will feel a noticeable, any of these, you will feel a noticeable release, and freedom once you're done. And then there's also the third that I'm going to mention is the just pure visualization. Sorry, that word always gives me a hard time. During meditation, you create an image of the individual sitting or standing in front of you, and you visualize a cord of light between you, whether it be from heart to heart, or mind to mind, or just if you feel like the old ball and chain, you could be from the ankles. I mean, however you want to visualize it, and then focus on breaking that link, and then visualize yourself cutting it with a pair of scissors. So that one, you will, in my opinion, and it's from my experience in doing things like that during meditation, things that expend a lot of energy, you're going to want to eat afterwards. You're probably going to want to eat after any of them, but you're going to want to eat afterwards. You're going to want to meditate for a while, and it's okay if you fall asleep, but you're going to want to just release whatever it is, and ground yourself, and that's part of the reason for eating. You want to get grounded. I always had a hard time with it. We were just going over some of my notes, and I put in a note in one of the rituals or spell castings that I notated in the book, that it was hard grounding afterwards. Easiest way to ground is to eat something. Even if it's just a piece of toast with some jam on it. Just eat something. Because it just, I don't know how to explain it. Biologically, it helps. And you probably will be hungry because you just used a lot of energy.
Right.
So, anyway, I'll not harp on that any longer, but do it.
And I don't know about your experience, but in my experience, I always tend to crave something starchy. Like French fries or
French fries are good.
Potato.
French fries are good anytime. But yeah.
After the fact. And I think there's something about the starch and the complex carbohydrates that like just kind of brings you down.
Yeah, I hadn't even
up your energy.
Right, I hadn't thought about it like that, but now that you mention it, I mean, most of the time I would have something that was like a PB&J or something.
Right.
Or a cheeseburger or whatever. So that's the bread is starchy.
So, other than the cord cutting that you and I did together, like that we helped each other with, there was one other time I had done a cord cutting. I didn't even know, like, I didn't think of it as a cord cutting because at the time I had never even heard of them yet. It wasn't something that had become popular because, there's like always trends, like right now, Money Bowls and the Cinnamon Spell are really popular.
I guess motherfuckers are hurting right now.
But at the time, like, I had never even heard of a cord cutting, but I kind of like just made my own because there was somebody that back when I was in high school, fell in love with a boy, but we ended up not getting together even though he liked me too. But then when I started practicing witchcraft, he decided he didn't want to be my friend anymore.
Okay.
But didn't have the balls to tell me himself. He kind of he ghosted me, like before ghosting was even a thing.
Ghosted before ghosting was a thing, huh?
Yeah. He called me up one day and told me that, he had apparently had this lifelong dream of going to Israel, and it was finally happening. He was going on a church mission, and he was supposed to be gone for 6 months, and he told me he would write to me while he was gone and he would call me when he got back. And 8 months later I realized that neither one of those things ever happened, and I started looking for him, and like maybe it was like 14 years later, finally found a phone number and an address and tried reaching out to him, and he didn't call me back when I left a message, and when I tried calling again, the number had been disconnected.
Wow.
So it was like,
that's weird.
And all that time, like anytime I thought about him, I would cry because I missed my friend.
Right.
And so one day I was getting ready to move, and I was trying to downsize, and I was going through this big letter of boxes and came across all these letters and birthday cards and Christmas cards that he had sent me, and it didn't feel right to throw them away, and it didn't feel right to burn them. So I got in contact with his brother and asked, like, hey, if, it just doesn't feel right to destroy these or just treat them as waste because they're his thoughts and his feelings. If I send them to you, would you make sure they get back to him? And he was like, yeah, sure. So I sent them. I thought I had all of them, but apparently there was one little Christmas card that escaped the purge. And so later when I was downsizing and I was going through this box of old letters and just like reading everything and then tossing it, I come across this card, and it pissed me off so bad that this card was in my house. So I looked up, I had found out that he ran a business at the time. So I took the address of his business, found his home address.
You straight up stalked this dude.
Put the card in an envelope with, I think it was the business address as the return and the business address was the addressee. his home address was the return, and wrote down some lyrics from a Rihanna song, slipped it in the envelope, and sent it off. And Joylyn was with me when I did this. And she was like, well, what happens if, the address it's going to is not correct?
Well,
I said, then it goes to the return. She goes, okay, but what if that one's not correct either? I said, then it goes back to the other one. And she goes, but I said, I don't care what happens to it as long as it doesn't end up back in my hands. And I didn't realize that I had set up a test for myself, or I didn't remember that. I guess I must have set up a test for myself. The little slip of paper that I had written the addresses on, I stuck it back in my wallet. And a few months later, I was looking for something in my wallet and came across the paper. And when I saw it, it was just like, oh. And like the memories were there, but not the pain, not the hurt, and not the love.
Right.
It was just like, oh, yeah, I had some really good memories with this person. Oh, well. And just kind of like, so obviously like my shoving it away worked. But yeah, it was like, I didn't realize that that's what I was doing at the time because I had never heard of such a thing. It wasn't until like probably the past 5 years that I had actually heard about a cord cutting.
Right. Yeah, that's another thing. After doing a cord cutting, you also need to stay away from the individual.
Yes, that is hugely important.
Like, you can't really do a cord cutting with somebody that you're seeing. I mean, you could, but you're just reforming. More than likely, you're just going to reform the cord in some manner.
Yeah, definitely don't do it, especially if you're sleeping with the person.
Yeah, you're just reestablishing it every single time. Which is something that I read in my research. You may not think this or realize it, but, everybody that we've ever slept with, have formed a connection with that person. If you are having some real difficulties, you may want to consider doing a cord cutting with, that may not be many for some and may be a lot for others. And I'm not judging, but I'm just saying, like, with those connections, if any of those people were really bad for you, like that toxicity. I mean, if they were really bad for you, you would want to consider, like, I'm not saying you need to do a cord cutting for every single partner you've had, but if there was somebody that was toxic as fuck, just because you haven't thought about them in 5 years, doesn't mean that maybe you shouldn't do a cord cutting of that person. Just saying. Right. Because we do swap many energies and create connections when we make love or whatever you want to call it.
Right. But also, you can do cord cuttings for things like addictions.
Yep. And
bad habits.
Yep.
So if there's a bad habit, like I know for me, procrastination is a huge one.
I don't know what you're talking about. I never procrastinate anything.
Okay. You can do a cord cutting for that where instead of, writing your name on one candle and the other person's name on the other.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even really talk about that.
It would be your name on one candle and the bad habit or the addiction that you're trying to get rid of on the other candle, so that you're cutting the cord between you and it.
Right. And don't freak out if one of the candles burns kind of weird. As long as it... But, I mean, if you do it tight enough, the string tight enough, to where it's secure on the candle, it's going to burn the cord at some point. So, like, if it goes sideways, well, then check the ventilation, dude. Like, don't... I've just seen so many comments of somebody doing this exact spell, and because of the way they tied it or the ventilation, one of the candles pretty much burnt down all the way in like a couple of minutes.
But then the other one is still...
And the other one is still like
going
full.
Strong.
And it did not burn the string. Like, the individual was flipping out about this. And, I mean, it just means you didn't prepare it properly. I mean, I don't know what to tell. I mean, honestly, that's a situation where planning and preparation and setup are key.
Right.
You know, and definitely, like, look at the ventilation. I've had that happen. Like, or I'd have if I was doing a ritual that required a candle be lit at the beginning, and then I complete whatever I'm doing, and then the candle continues to burn out, and the ritual is complete once the candle burns out. I've placed it in different areas of my room before we moved in together, and like in one spot, it would burn for like a freaking hour and a half. A little freaking candle. And then another spot, like on that little table that was kind of on that, it would be burnt in 20 minutes.
Right.
You know, because it was right above the vent. Mm-hmm. And so, like, pay attention to that kind of stuff, because it will have an effect on the way things progress or the way a candle burns.
Right.
So,
and it could also be an issue with where the cord is placed, because I've seen some versions of a cord cutting where the cord is supposed to go around the wicks of the candles. Mm-hmm. And I've seen some where it's supposed to go around like the middle of the candles.
Yeah, which that one I honestly don't get, because once it burns down, I mean, you're not actually
cutting the
cord.
Right.
I mean,
but I think those ones, because, okay.
I like the one where you just cut the cord.
Yeah, here's another variation of that particular one. There are some where you're supposed to let the candle burn the cord, and then there are others where you tie the cord around the candles, but then you cut the cord with scissors.
And then let them continue to burn down.
Yes.
Gotcha.
But then there's the one that we did, that we helped each other with, where we just bound ourselves and cut, which that one was really powerful. And I remember when I cut the cord on mine, like, I actually felt all of my power and all of my energy come rushing back. And I was in something that I had not been able to do for quite a few years, was build a shield. I was immediately able to do that again because my energy had come back.
Yeah, you will feel it.
You will definitely feel it. Not only spiritually, but most likely emotionally too. Like, it'll just be a huge weight off your shoulders, huge sigh of relief. And I mean, I think you remember, like, I did
mentioned
cry.
It earlier.
I did cry when I did mine.
Yeah, but that's love spells.
And cord cutting. Oh, I do have a question for you.
What's that?
And this is something I've been thinking about for quite a while. What has been the most difficult part of the witchcraft journey for you?
Not procrastinating. My own consistency. I mean, when I put it into... well, for me, I mean, like we talked about, I think, in the first episode, you know, it's not just about witchcraft for me.
Right.
It's Wicca, and it's like anything else that if you don't put the energy into it, not that you lose it, but it just... I don't know how to explain it, but that's been the most difficult part. Is maintaining my own, not letting myself be so tired that I just want to sit on the couch and binge watch something.
Mm.
Not sleeping until when I don't have to go in until late. Not sleeping till 10.
Right.
When I have to be in at 11. Why didn't I just get up at 6 and then do something? So that kind of thing. My own procrastination, and that's been the most challenging part. The second most challenging part was believing that I had the ability to do it. That changed when I was in Michigan, and again, doing more ceremonial. I did some ceremonial magic, or began to, and manifested some pretty cool shit. That I was it was very emotionally moving. So yeah, my own procrastination, because I definitely want to get back to that. One of the reasons why I want to hit the lotto, so I don't have to work 40 freaking hours a week. We've talked about this before. Okay, so in medieval times or before that, life was hard. Life expectancy was less than 30, I think, right? Some shit like that.
Yeah.
But if you, it was. I know it was different in the sense that you didn't have all the distractions. If you wanted to study, if you had access to the books, okay, there's another difficulty. If you had access to the teachings, you had all the time in the world to do what you needed to do.
Right.
Now we're all slaves to some company that we spend more time at work than we do with our family. Waking hours.
Right.
We get maybe 6 to 8 hours. Well, not even, because anyway, I'm getting off track again. Yes, I hit my pen. Anyway, I hope you've learned something. I hope we've helped you in some way. We would love to hear from you. And any suggestions or questions or, hey, comments too. Just try to be respectful.
Yeah. So if you like what you see and hear, hit the like button, subscribe, share it with your friends. If you have any suggestions or questions, you can reach out to us at gettingwitchypodcast@gmail.com, or you can leave a message or a comment on the video on YouTube at Getting Witchy, or you can reach out to us on Instagram at Getting Witchy Podcast. We do also have a Facebook page, Getting Witchy, which is, you'll know it because it's the same picture as we use on everything else.
Have a great night, everybody. Be safe. And I hope you had a great Friday the 13th, by the way.
Peace.
Peace. Oh, we didn't even talk about the eclipse.